Our absolute pleasure now to bring in Harvey Unga, who was kind enough to join us with some of his precious time off after the football season, but for good reason, to discuss Tyler Allgeier and what he just left in terms of a legacy at BYU. Harvey, first of all, merry belated Christmas and a happy New Year to you.
Likewise, merry belated and happy New Year to you guys.
Now, I know that part of your New Year's resolution is going to be keeping things rolling for BYU football in that running backs room, but you may have heard you got some big shoes to fill with Tyler Allgeier declaring for the NFL draft. So let's talk about Tyler and what he did at BYU. We just gave our opinions on where his season ranks among the all-time great seasons of BYU football. You said recently in a tweet you believe he's the best running back ever to come through here. Why is that you feel that Tyler Allgeier might just have been the best to ever run the ball at BYU?
Well, and I know I'm sure everyone, they've all got their own reasons and their own opinions, but you take into consideration the things he did over the last 2 years, especially this last season, and then knowing that he still could have 2 more years to play. And I know I'm like, everyone can say, what if, but to me, I don't think they're like, if he were to stay 2 years, I don't know if there's a record he wouldn't break. And I don't know if there's any, I don't know if those records may ever be broken. If he were to stay the next 2 years, in my opinion. So for that reason, that's one of them, but also to see what he did this year, and not just against some G5 teams or, some I don't want to say not really good teams, but because anywhere in college football, the kids are talented. You're going to get everyone's best game, and we've seen that numerous times. I've seen it playing and coaching, but to see what he did against those Power 5 schools, to me, I don't know if there were or have been any other backs. I know Jamal had done it a few times, but I don't know if he'd done it against the number of P5 schools that Tyler did, and had done it consistently. So that was another reason why I had brought that to the table. But the other part too was, to me, he's still so raw. Just coaching him, that had he stayed next season, I feel like there was still things for him to learn and for him that he could improve on, both running wise and in the pass game. So those are a few reasons why I feel like Tyler would be the best, or is the best back to come through the school.
Well, and I want to go back to something that you just talked about. You had mentioned, the teams that BYU faced this year. And I think we saw this last year with Zach Wilson, where people wanted to discount what he did and the numbers he put up because of the competition. And last year with what Tyler did in a great year, to a certain extent, they wanted to do the same thing. How satisfying was it for you? Because you see these guys every day and you know how much work goes into it. How satisfying was it for him to be able to have this season, like you said, against arguably BYU's toughest schedule ever, so that nobody can take away just how good he was?
Yeah, for that reason, I can't even express how thankful and how grateful and how satisfying it was for him to go out there and prove it week in, week out. He's and like you said, people can say whatever they want to say about last season, and it is what it is. But for him to follow up and not just do well, but supersede what I think anybody's expectations were from last season, that was so just gratifying, and I'm just more grateful than anything.
Harvey, you mentioned that Tyler is still in some ways raw. And that's crazy because he was so good, but yet you feel like he can improve in some categories, and certainly the NFL will help him do that in a hurry. As it stands right now, with Tyler's current skill set and where he can still improve, where does he fit in the NFL draft, in your opinion?
So it's kind of tough. That's a tough question. Just because this draft is a little tricky, just because of how really saturated it is due to COVID. You've got the seniors, I guess the normal seniors from this year, but also the super seniors from last year that are in this draft. So it's a little tricky. If it were, I guess, any other normal draft, to me, and that's hard for me to answer because I'm biased, but like knowing what I know and the potential that he has, and he had mentioned it too, that the best of his football career is yet to come. I see him. I would take him as a late day one, early day two guy if I'm a team, to be honest.
I realize, Harvey, that you're certainly not there to make decisions for guys. You're there to give them information and let them do what's best for them. But in a situation like this where a guy is considering, well, should I go pro? Should I come back? What role do you take in helping them make that decision?
So that's funny you asked. Ty and I and his family as well too. We've had long discussions about this, and I've always told them that I will never tell them what to do. I'm never going to, ask them to stay, but I'm also not going to tell them to go, just because I don't feel like it's my place to do that. More than anything, I pretty much just give them the facts, the things that I know, the things that I've experienced, and then, kind of gave it on both sides, both the NFL perspective and then both, staying in college and everything like that. So really that was all I did for Ty and his family, was kind of gave them, both sides of the spectrum, the realities of the NFL, and then, where things could happen, where things couldn't happen, if he were to stay, how things could happen, how things couldn't happen. But I'll never, like I said, I'll never tell them what to do or make that decision for them. That's totally on them and their family, and I'll always support them no matter what. And they know that. I don't ever want to come in between any of these players and their families and their decisions and everything like that, because that's not my job. I'm here to coach them and mentor them and help them, but at the end of the day, it's their life and it's their choice, and I'll always support them no matter what.
What can you tell us about conversations you've had with some of the NFL scouts? How do they view Tyler in the NFL?
It's a broad spectrum, to be honest. Like, it all depends on the team, with their running back depth, and a lot of times there's the hype of certain players that, for whatever reason, I don't know, they seem to bump up in the draft class, and it, to me, there's certain players that I think get hyped up and are just they're okay, but then there's other players, for instance, like Tyler, who may not get all the hype and stuff from ESPN or whoever it is, but to me deserve that hype and deserve the praise and the credit, and I don't understand or know how everything goes in for draft day. I'm not a GM, and I don't fully, have a grasp on those kinds of things. But the things I go off of are obviously, after I'm done, we play teams in college, and I get feedback from, the coaches that we just played against, and majority of them, like, they give me that kind of insight onto what they think about Ty and what, things he could work on, what he shouldn't, or the things that will help him, get to that next level. And a lot of them, mentioned that he's definitely an NFL guy, and it's, I don't know, it's kind of hard. I don't fully understand everything that goes into it, but like I said, I'm probably biased. So.
Understandably.
We all are.
We're talking with BYU running backs coach Harvey Unga, one of the best to ever run the ball at BYU yourself. And so you're in an interesting position because, Harvey, we just reviewed some of your numbers earlier in the show, and we feel like certainly you are one of the best to ever do it. So being in your position and wanting Tyler to succeed, What's the best bit of advice you can offer to Tyler right now as he transitions into the NFL to help him prepare for what's about to happen?
Just honestly, the biggest thing for him, I think, is just continue to do everything the way that you're doing it. Don't try to be somebody you're not. Don't change your run game or your run style because you think that this is what so and so wants to see, or you think that the scouts or the GMs want to see this. Like, to me, the biggest thing, like, do what got you to where you're at. Continue to perfect your craft in that way, but also at the same time, like, develop, the things that you may lack. But a lot of times I've seen it where guys, they feel like, so-and-so said, I can't do this. So, on pro day, they try to do things out of their element to try to showcase a certain skill and stuff. And sometimes it hurts them. But to me, I think if Tyler just continues to, improve on little things here and there, but continue to keep the main focus, on the way he runs the ball and how aggressive and how strong and how physical and his speed, I think that'll help him more than anything. Everything else will fall into place. And the other part, I don't want him to go into this thing shell-shocked when he's there, because he belongs there. And I've seen that in numerous times, and I'm guilty of it too. I had gone when I went to Chicago, first guy I met over there was Brian Urlacher. And to me, I'm like, I walked through the weight room and he actually called out to me and he yelled my name, Harvey, when I was walking through. My head, I'm like, he's not calling me. There's no way. So I just keep walking and he keeps yelling at me. He's like, Harvey. And so I'm like, oh, he is. So I look back and I'm kind of shell shocked and everything. But that kind of stuff, it was cool because he came and, he welcomed me and everything like that. And a part of me, I was still like fanboying him and looking like, holy cow, man, this guy said what's up to me. But in reality, like, that's my teammate. And I should have, like I said, I was more of like a little kid just walking around just in awe of everything. But I don't want him to go into the league and feel that way. Like, I want him to go in there and make sure, he knows he belongs there and that, he's there to, prove himself and continue to just, kind of start where he left off from over here.
All right, Harvey, let's finish with this. Now the question of questions is, how do you fill the void that Tyler Allgeier leaves in the running backs room? You've got some guys for sure. Miles Davis is a guy that you and the coaches are high on but got nicked up in fall camp. Jackson McChesney, Hinckley Ropati. You get Lopini Katoa back for some of that senior leadership. So who's the guy that's going to step in and fill those shoes for Tyler Allgeier?
I'll fill the void the same way I filled it the first time. I've told all the boys, like, this is nobody's position, for now. Like, it's anyone. Anyone can win the position. And they know that. They know how we work in our room, and nothing's ever given to anybody. I've told Beanie that. I've told McChesney that. I've told all of them that. They all know. And, I'm grateful for every single one of these guys in my room because they know it. They've all adjusted and they said, yeah, we're not looking for anything, coach. We'll earn it the same way that we've always done it. So same way we did with Tyler and Beanie and when I first got into this position, I'm not giving it to anybody until they prove themselves and they earn it. Obviously, Beanie's got the experience and whatnot, but even he knows, I've told him numerous times, like, there's going to be guys in the room that step their game up and that are going to push him to his limits. And I expect that of all of them. I want them all to do that, especially, like you said, with Miles Davis, Mason Fakahua, like, there's a bunch of young guys that are hungry and I'm excited for it, and I'm looking forward to seeing, who steps up to the plate, and I'm sure any one of those guys can. And we've seen it, over the last 2 years where guys have stepped up and fill in. So I'm expecting any one of these guys to, fill those shoes, and they all know that they're capable of it, and they all know that they can. And I got to do my job and coach them up and get them ready.
Harvey, we appreciate again you spending some time with us on BYU Sports Nation as we recap what Tyler Allgeier did and for the insight into what he is now going to face as he transitions into the NFL. Thanks for the conversation in the car, my friend. I hope you enjoy some peace and quiet now that you're done dealing with us.
Oh, it's long. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I got all four kiddos with me, and we got a workout we're heading to here in a little bit. So I appreciate it, though. I appreciate you guys, and hope you guys have a good holiday.
Happy New Year. Thanks, Harvey.
Thanks, Harvey.